You gotta have your heart broke sometimes. You gotta have, like, in order for you to push forward, I feel like that pain is necessary. If you've never been down in the dumps, and I tell you a story. You know my daddy, man. He be dropping gems on me all the time. One time, I was a really, really good baseball player. So I played baseball back in the day. And we was headed to practice, and it started pouring down raining. We was on Roosevelt in Little Rock. We ride down the street. It started pouring down raining. I said, Daddy, man, I don't like when it rains. You know, you can't really do nothing else. I don't like when it rains. He said, he cut the radio off. He said, Charlie, don't say that. He said, it got to rain for the flowers to bloom.
I'm Andre, and this is the Speak Your Life podcast, where we talk about everything as it relates to education, careers, values, mentors, and anything to do with purpose. We do this one impactful conversation at a time, whether a solo dolo with yours truly or our amazing guests to share stories, industry insights, encouraging words, and calls to action that can help you get closer to your why. Become a part of the Speak Your Life community by subscribing today to the podcast and following us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Speak Your LYFE, because life without your why is meaningless. And so today I got a special guest in the building. Man, this guy, this guy is from Little Rock, Arkansas.
The Rock.
Born
John
and raised.
John Barrow.
He's a graduate of three different schools, actually. One is Clark, Atlanta. Shout out to the HBCUs. Two, he got his master's over in West Georgia, and his most recent degree was defending his doctorate and dissertation at Valdosta State University.
Yeah, man.
All right, so this man is here in the Atlanta School District. He has an amazing wife and a father to two amazing sons. Please welcome to the show, Charlie McAdoo, a.k.a. Mackie.
Yeah, well, yeah, you can call me the Mac. I mean, you know, when you're doing stuff with your fan band, man, it's always, it's always good because you loose off the rip. And I think that, I'm glad you're doing this, man. I've seen your maturation. I know your people, man. Your mama, she took care of me. Your grandmama took care of me, and so forth, man. So the bloodline is there, man, and the vibes are here. And man, let's make it do what it do, man. Let's jump into this, man. I'm ready to speak my life, man. I'm ready to speak my life.
If you everybody has that crazy cousin out there, this is mine.
Man, I'm a doctor, man. I'm a doctor.
He's a genius, but he crazy though. But anyways, so Mackie, tell us about just growing up from a child to like going to Clark, Atlanta, and just what just tell us what that was like, your childhood, and then just growing up into getting into the educational realm. Like, what made you want to come there, and tell us about that story.
Man, that's a whole lot. I mean, I feel like I should have got my like a pen or paper. We didn't pregame none of this. You just showed up. The first thing you asked me was, "You got something to drink?" I was like, "Well, I don't know. You got something to eat?" I'm like, "Man, help yourself. I'm working on some other stuff for work." And next thing you know, you're gonna pop this question on me. This is like it's a real question. So I'm gonna go ahead and start with the first part of that. You say growing up, obviously, as you know, but the listeners may not know, my father, he's a United Methodist pastor. My mother was or is she's the sister of your grandmother, and that's what kind of connects us, but it kind of connects this story as well. So I'm originally from Little Rock, Arkansas, born and raised. I always liked. First, I'm gonna take it all the way back. So my grandfather, I'm gonna take it to my grandfather on my daddy's side, Slick McAdoo. If you look it up now, he was the president of a Negro League baseball team out of Lebanon, Tennessee. and they call it Lebanon Clowns. You could Google that right now. So if you look in the bio, if Andre puts this in there, but you could look up my last name, and then you could look up Lebanon Clowns, and you'll be able to see it's registered with the Library of Congress. So, you know, our roots go back, ingenuity, advocacy, and agency. That's always been a part about what we got shaking. And I'm going to mention that, you know, if we talk long enough, you're going to hear me say that again. And, you know, one of my mantras and one of my family mantras is you got to do something you never did to get something you never got. You know, and I think that that's true. I mean, I like the fact you're doing this podcast. And you know, a little bit about my childhood. I went to, so I'm a middle child. My brother is LaRon McAdoo, and then my younger sister is Madra McAdoo. She's in D.C. She went to Howard. My brother, he went to University of Arkansas Pine Bluff. He's a rapper, a Renaissance man, a poet, all that good stuff. As a matter of fact,
you're a rapper too.
Yeah, you know, I don't want everybody to know everything. But, you know, at the time that you hear this, my sister-in-law, she's the Arkansas Teacher of the Year. So the 2019 Arkansas Teacher of the Year. So, which brings me into education. At one point in time, I had over 25 relatives, blood relatives, that was in the Little Rock School District. So going way back, we born and raised in Little Rock. My daddy got the call, and he went up to Kansas City, Missouri, went to seminary at St. Paul School of Theology, came back home, and we moved back to Pine Bluff, Arkansas. So I spent a little time in Pine Bluff, Arkansas. Went to a couple schools there, and then in the 5th grade, moved back to Little Rock, Arkansas, and went to a school called Forest Park. I'll tell you a quick story. So we moved around a lot. My brother LaRon went to 6 different elementary schools in 6 years. And then we just moved and went to different schools. So this is my first day. It's like around now, I actually like early September or whatnot. Well, whenever you hear this podcast, you know what's up. So, man, one time, well, I had started on a Thursday, and they were having a parade for all the students. The students to be, they were walking around with posters. I remember asking Miss Wilson, I said, Miss Wilson, what the kids doing? She said, they running for student council. I said, they running for student council. I said, can I do that? She said, baby, they did the campaign, but your speeches is going to be on Monday if you wanted to participate in the speech. I said, well, you know, she said, you would have only been here 3 days. I said, that's cool. So on Friday, I called my brother who went to University of Arkansas Pine Bluff, UAPB. I called LaRon. I said, hey, man, write me a rap. This is back in the day. He wrote me a rap. I get there, he wrote it, I memorized it, all that good stuff. So I get in front of people I've only known for 3 days at Forest Park in a quote-unquote desirable neighborhood in Little Rock, Arkansas. I get in front of the whole school there. All the 6th grade girls and 5th grade girls sitting up front. I don't know nobody. I'm solo dolo. I don't know nobody. I look in the crowd. I said, it was a pause. I said, V-O-T-E McAdoo, because that is the right thing to do. V-O-T-E McAdoo, because that is the right thing to do. Student body treasurer is my aim. Vote for Charlie McAdoo, cause that's my name. Man, you talking about, man, I finished the rap. It was like, man, they was going ape. They was going ape stuff. It was crazy. Overnight, I had became one of the most popular students at the school in this neighborhood. And it was crazy. I remember the counselor pulled me to the side. She said, Charlie, you're the first black person that's ever been voted on as student council at this school, ever. And this ain't too far in the past. I'm only 21 now. No. But she told me, she was like, you the first black person, which blew my mind. She said they now are saying that they want to not let you be student body treasurer because you hadn't been here long enough and blah, blah, blah. But the rules stated, and I was kind of the people's champ. So I started doing a lot of rapping around school, rapping in the community, rapping this, that, and the other. But the whole time I've had aunts, uncles, my Aunt Curlin, Aunt Low. I don't want to say, I'm gonna refrain from saying everybody because if you check me out, I'll put it in the bio. If you reach out to me, I'll let you know because I don't want to miss nobody. But at one point in time, I had like 15 people, 25 people that I knew directly, first cousin, second cousin, all that good stuff, aunts, uncles in the Little Rock School District. So, I went on. I was a rapper. I was a #1 rapper in Arkansas at one point in time. Me and my brother started the one of the biggest and largest hip hop crews in Little Rock and in Arkansas. Backyard Enterprises. We started that.
Tell us about that.
Because
you transitioned from you tell us about like the high school phase and then doing the campaign rap, and then so that led into
that's
a little
fifth grade. The fifth grade was a campaign.
Oh, well, that was fifth grade. Okay,
yeah, that's
my bad.
Fifth grade. So fifth grade, and then all through middle school, I rapped. I used to write a rap a day. But I was always on my business. My father was a preacher. He definitely encouraged us to do stuff that we like to do. My mom, she worked with special needs kids, so it wasn't nothing that had students that she helped. She worked at United Cerebral Palsy. Kids would be in the house that she babysitted. So I was exposed to all that and active in church as well. And I went to Dunbar Junior High. And I went to Little Rock Central High School.
With the Little Rock Nine.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
There's history to it.
Yeah, history.
Yeah, my mom went there. She was class of 76.
No doubt.
Yeah.
And she was a teacher, too, in the Little Rock School District at one point. So,
right.
A family of educators. So then my senior year, I used to play baseball, but my senior year, I ended up getting a job at Champs. So my cousin, who's now a teacher, Chanda Payton, she had a job at Champs. She said, "Hey Mac, you wanna work at Champs? I put your name in. We do recommendations, all that." So I ended up working at Champs Sports my senior year, and just not by chance, but I parlayed some stuff I was doing into getting a radio show. I had a radio show on 88.3. My whole senior year, and I felt like I was the #1 rapper in Little Rock. I mean, but it was a community of rappers. But my brother, we had a big crew, and my dad, since he's a United Methodist pastor, he came in one day. He had a map. He said, "Hey, I can help you go to any school on this map. I can't get you in, but I can help you go to any school on this map." And Goody Mob, Soul Food had just came out. I said, I want to go there. I want to go to Atlanta. And that whole year, even the year before, I had been coming to Atlanta for Jack the Rapper, and that's when I saw you when you was a little bit younger. But messed around, got to Clark, Atlanta. I stayed in ITC back in the day. Graduated in 4 years. I interned for Too Short Records when I was down here. I worked at Shannon Mall, Greenbrier Mall, at Champ Sports, Shannon Mall, Greenbrier.
Oh man, I remember those.
All the different malls, and then I ended up going to Lenox. So I worked from senior year all the way up. Ended up graduating on a thank you Lottie. You got cum laude, boom laude, and doom laude. I was thank you Lottie. So man, I graduated, man, and went back home to Arkansas. So graduated 4 years, went back. My wife, I had knew her from Central High, but we knew one another, and it was kind of dating back and forth while we was in school. And next thing you know, she graduated from school. And same year
at Harvard,
she did graduate from Harvard. Went back to Little Rock, and I was working at Champ. She got in med school, so she was in med school. I'm working, and one day she came in. She said, "Mac, I don't see a whole lot of people with gray hairs going and getting Jordans for people." And that day, I started looking for another job. I said, "Man, I need to start looking for jobs where people with gray hair had." And then, I like to say that I kind of tripped up and accidentally started teaching, man. But with that type of pedigree, I make it seem like I moonwalked into it, but I think it was a natural fit, and the Lord placed me where I was supposed to be. So then I started teaching. I taught 5 years at Little Rock, McClellan, Magnet High School. I coached baseball. I was a golf coach, all that good stuff. But I worked there after I did that, man, had my first son while we was in Little Rock, and we moved to Atlanta. And when we moved to Atlanta, I was trying to cultivate some rap stuff here, but I got involved in education. Then I ended up going to West Georgia, University of West Georgia, for my master's. Got my master's. After I got my master's, I said, man, we just as smart as anybody else, man.
Yeah.
So then I ended up getting on at Valdosta State for my doctorate, and
tell us about that experience. I want to hear about that experience specifically, like the whole.
Why
like,
because
I know. Well, here's the thing. Like my mom was a teacher. She got her master's and everything like that.
And a specialist. She encouraged me, dog.
Yeah.
For real, she was the one that said, "Go on, do it."
But you did what most people wouldn't even do. You went to the next level and got your doctorate. Like, what made you get your doctorate? Teaching and knowing that you weren't gonna try to be a professor. Because most times people are like, oh, I'm gonna get a doctorate to be a professor at a university, but that wasn't your goal. So what made you do that? Because like that was not a typical route that people go.
Well, for me personally, people always talk about excellence. But I'm going to go back to what I said off the rip. You got to do something you never did to get something you never got. I think a lot of times most people are afraid of their inner greatness. Like, we all got gifts. But the world we live in is set up to make us, number one, be afraid of our greatness. Number two, not pursue things and try to be safe. And like in the hood, like, or just growing up in the places I've been, some of the places I've been that are less, scrupulous. Scare money, no money. So if you don't play, you can't win. And, in the capitalistic, market-driven economy and society and all that good stuff, you just gotta go for what you know. And if you got the resources to do it, handle it. And me personally, I'd like to put stuff in the matrix, and I like to, many times people like to make stuff 100 or 0. So it's either like, even with moving to Atlanta, people would be like, man, you hate Little Rock, but you love Atlanta. I'm like, man, pump your brakes, man. I'm 10 steps ahead of you, not 30. According to that, I got the Jeezy, man. So, but I thought that was a cool quote, because people like to make it 100 or 0, but sometimes you have to make a decision that's the best decision, especially in life. So for me, one thing that I consider is, in the more season I get, I don't say older, but the more season I get, I always like to say, what is, what matters? Like, what actually matters and what don't matter. And like, when it's all said and done, like, I never wanted to have any regrets. Okay. And I was always a finisher. Like, sometimes people start stuff, but they don't fit. Like, I got arthritis in my hip. This is an aside, but I got arthritis. But, to my detriment, sometimes that philosophy, it works, but this is just my life way. Because, as I was training for a half marathon, I said, man, my hip hurting, but I gutted it out. I mean, the way I thought then was pain is just weakness leaving your body. So, I ran a half marathon and record time. You can email me if you want to know the time. But, when I did that, I thought to myself, I don't want to leave nothing on nothing on the court. Or nothing on the field. And, me getting my doctorate and pursuing that was like, if I don't do it, I personally would wait. Like, I measured, to me, I looked at it statistically. I said, well, my sons are this age. If I don't get it now, my level of involvement with my sons is going to be a little bit more in a couple more years. And I definitely wouldn't want to do it. And then I would do it later. And who's to say I would do it later? So for me, I had a window of opportunity. And when you got that window of opportunity and don't strike, that's when people have regrets. And I try to stay away from that. Yeah. And that's that.
Wow. So tell us what your dissertation was about specifically.
Well, I got the book over there, but I could tell you it's a professional development study, but basically, the identification and prioritization of professional development topics for teachers of career, technical, and agricultural subjects within metropolitan Atlanta school systems.
Wow,
That's
very specific.
Yeah, that's the that's the title.
The essence. Yeah.
But the essence of it, the you know, when you break it all the way down, it's about meeting the needs of people who are have perceptions of their professional development needs, basically. So how do you meet those needs based on a certain criterion? You know, basically, I feel like, you know, the dissertation was cool, but you know, people ask. I'm gonna keep it totally 100 with you, man. 1,000. I'm gonna keep it 1,000. Before you do stuff that's hard, people always ask you, especially people in your peer group, you know, because they see their weakness. Most people impose their weakness and their doubts and their fears upon you.
Oh yeah.
So when you say, man, I want to be a flight attendant, man, I want to be a pilot, I want to be a legislator, I want to be a I want to own a corporation. I want to be a president. They impose their doubts and fears and trepidations upon you. And if they do that, then they succeed in that. But you have to have a little bit of intestinal fortitude to say, well,
breaking out the SAT words up in here.
No, man. We just pontificate, man. Hold up. But so bottom line is, you know, people impose that upon you, and like they'll ask you, even when you did your thing, when you pursued the things that you wanted to pursue. I got no doubt in my mind, people came up to you and asked why. The first question is why. I said, man, look, I want to work on my doctorate, man, PhD, EDD. I don't know. I do something. I'm a do it. And and I had a certain time in my head, and people said why. You know, people like why? And when they ask you why, you know, that's them imposing that doubt. But then when I got done and they saw the pictures on Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat and Twitter and my family's pictures, and I got 700, 800 likes on a Facebook, post, which is, I thought that was pretty good, man. I had never got that.
It's not about the likes, but, you know.
I'm not. You try to make it not, but, man, look, it is what it is. And,
but that's a big accomplishment.
But after you do it, after you do stuff, people say how. So before you do it, they say why. So why do you want to be a flight attendant? Why do you want to get your doctorate? Why do you want to do this? And then after you complete it, they say how. Because they couldn't, I think the people, they can't conceive. They can't put their mind in the space for that. I don't know if it's handcuffs. I personally believe it's the way that our world is set up. So, you got to do something you never did to get something you never got.
Yeah.
And that's true. That. So, my doctoral journey, it was it was bumps, bruises, all that, but I knew I wasn't gonna quit. I didn't. Yeah. I knew I wasn't gonna quit, but I also knew, the thing is, I make it real simple. So to pursue a post-secondary terminal degree, in my opinion, I think it takes three things.
Okay.
It takes aptitude. Number one, it takes aptitude. So if you could write a letter, you could write a word. And if you could write a word, you could write a sentence. And if you could write a sentence, you could write a couple of sentences and make it a paragraph. You make a paragraph, you can make a page. You make a page, you can make a chapter. You do a chapter, next thing you know, you got 300 pages. So you have that. So that's one thing. You have to have the aptitude. The second thing that you have to have, which, well, actually is the most important. The second thing is the financial resources. So you got to have the bread. Yeah. You got to have the bread, and that's a no-brainer. So you got to have the financial resources, you got to have the aptitude, and then the thing that covers all of that, and the thing that makes it damn near impossible for most people is you got to have the will. Yeah, and that's where I feel like most people don't have. that's where that's where the rubber meets the road. You know, financial resources, aptitude, and then when it comes to the will.
Yeah.
I mean, you've worked out before. You know what that looks like. Pain is necessary.
Oh yeah.
Pain
to
is
get better,
necessary.
to improve.
Pain is necessary. It's part of the process.
Yeah.
So if you've never been embarrassed, and when you go see Dave Chappelle, so when you speak of artistic excellence, you know, and I think of arts and academia in the same light and oratorical type stuff, you have to have had been embarrassed. You gotta have your heart broke sometime. You gotta have, like, in order for you to push forward, I feel like that pain is necessary. If you've never been down in the dumps, and I tell you a story. You know my daddy, man. He be dropping gems on me all the time. One time, I was a really, really good baseball player. So I played baseball back in the day. And we was headed to practice, and it started pouring down raining. We was on Roosevelt in Little Rock. We riding down the street. It started pouring down raining. I said, Daddy, man, I don't like when it rains. You know, you can't really do nothing else. I don't like when it rains. He said, he cut the radio off. He said, Charlie, don't say that. He said, it got to rain for the flowers to bloom. You know, so, and I carry that, you know, in whatever I got shaking now. Yeah. So, you know, if you see me, and you may have seen me during some times that ain't too kosher, you know, and I'm keeping it 100 because it could be worse.
Yeah.
I've been broke. I done had bread. I done kicked it. I done not been able to kick it. You know, I done had family do stuff to me that's funny style, and I done had people show me the type of love that can't come from no place but heaven. You know, so that's you know, you gotta have all that. That's why I think some folks be doing dope and going crazy, man. Cause
that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, man, they ain't never had the downs, man.
Yeah,
that's why I love UGK. That's why I love, like, the rappers, the musicians, blues, hip hop, you know, southern hip. You know, I love. I like the story. I like the journey. You know, it ain't a destination.
That's right.
So,
that's right. Earlier, you talked about, you know, the whole, you know, you talked about why when people were asking you, why did you do this? Why did you do this? My question to you is, what is your why? Now that you have this doctorate and stuff like that, what is your why now that you're in the educational field? Because it's not just about teaching. What is your why beyond that?
Well, my wife, she's beautiful.
I think you're missing.
She's
your why.
Oh, you said why, like the letter Y.
Your why, your purpose.
W. Oh, like the alphabet Y.
Yeah, he's crazy, guys.
I thought you said my wife.
No.
I'm like, man, look.
She's great, but that's not what I asked about.
I know who
she is.
My wife. Yeah, man, look, you know, we only on this piece of dirt for a certain amount of time, you know, and with that being said, I feel like, you know, we are here. And one time my OG told me, he said, look, Mac, I said, you know, we were talking about life and stuff. We may have had a couple adult beverages or whatnot, but we just talking. He told me, he said, and we talked, and kids came up, and I said, man, I just had my first son, blah, blah, blah. He said, man, you know, kids, with kids, you live forever. And that always struck me. And even from off the rip, when we started this podcast interview, I took it back before we could go forward. You know, before we even went anywhere, I talked about the Payton family, the McAdoo family, the lineage, the connection, because even though some people not here, is that we still here on their legacy. So, you know, statements like that make me, it's tattooed in my heart that, you know, I'm my ancestors' wildest dreams. So when you say the why, you know, I wonder if my daddy was a good baseball player. If he had an opportunity to play, he desegregated his high school his senior year when he was supposed to be the starting pitcher and the captain of the football team at the all-black school. So if he had the opportunity, then who knows what would have happened, but that unmet possibility is bestowed upon me. So, I mean, just like I see you grinding, every time you hit me up, I try to hit you up, even though sometimes you be cussing and talking trash. I be like,
no, please. Stop lying now.
at any rate, if your ancestors' wildest dreams, what would they say if they was looking at you and was like, man, you got this opportunity. You could go into the store, you could blah, blah, blah. You could buy podcast material and create a podcast. You have technology that will allow you to be able to reach Seattle, New York, Portland, Maine, Portland, Washington, Anaheim, California, Yugoslavia, man. I mean, wherever. I mean, you can be in the Yucatan Peninsula. I mean, this right here, like, if your ancestors knew. But, when you ask me my why, I feel like I personally believe I first of all, I like to talk. And that's like my oxygen.
Yeah, that's a
so. If that's my oxygen, why should I try to be somebody else's? Be in somebody else's wheelhouse at this juncture in my life. I ain't trying to work nobody else's wheelhouse. And I think once you do that, not a level of complacency, but a level of exploiting your own gifts. Like, if you exploit your own gifts, then you the master of your own destiny. If you got some get up, if you know what to do, how to do it, you handle it. And I believe that my why is the fact that I need my kids, the over 50,000 students that I've reached in some capacity, 50 plus thousand. Like, I believe that when they look at me, I'm an extension of the past, and I want to reflect the best representation of the past, and maybe drop a nugget on them that's gonna make them do their best. And I've always, speaking of do your best, man. One time, my sister, she used to make straight A's. My brother, he had straight A's, all that. And when I was in high school, even in college, I had a different mindset. I wanted my grades to be, my sister, 4.0 A. My brother, A, 1B, but majority A's.
Yeah.
I'm like, bump that, man. Hey, I always been about equity. See, my grades were always diversified. I tried to keep my grade. I mean, you don't want to have all one grade. So I tried. Man, I've made A's. I've made F's. I've made,
D's, E's.
Yeah, I did make some D's, man. I've made all kind of grades, man. So I mean, but it leads me to where I'm at now. You know, so. And my dad called us, and he would call us in the room one at a time. Him and my mom, they be in there, and then they would say, "Hey, my daddy would say, hey man, Charlie," and say, you made an A in this or C in this and blah blah blah." But he would always ask at the end. He said, "Did you do your best?" This one in front of nobody but me, him, and my mama. Did you do your best? Like this from as early as I can remember. Yeah. Always, did you do your best? And I got no doubt in my mind he asked that to my brother and sister as well. So I was in college. I'm calling home. I knew they had the grades because they always shipped. I feel like since they broke bread to help me get to college, they get the grades. I know sometimes students circumvent that process now and keep them and all that. Yeah. But man, I called home. I said, "Well, Daddy, I got a C in. I had straight C's, 2.0. I said, I got a C in this, a C in this, a C in there, And I'm going through like, well, I thought I had a, and I was gonna do it, and then he stopped me. And like the second one, he said, "Hey, don't do that." He said, "Don't let school get in the way of your education." Now that's gangster for you to tell your son, that. But I was working full time. My junior, my senior year, I worked 40 hours a week. So I was working full time, going to school full time, and that to me. So when you ask my why, I can't say my why, without putting it in context of how I got to my why. Because I think, it's just like a plant. The air and dirt in the water, like a seed has to have fertile ground for it to be able to grow. And you wonder why stuff in Hawaii and places like that look beautiful. The vegetation looks so healthy. I mean, volcanoes are so violent. Since volcanoes are so violent, but what happened when the magma, combobulates and it turns good? It got these big old holes in it. I was talking to a dude that was a botanist, and he told me, he said, "Look, that all that happens when that magma gets back together is whatever it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The lava, the magma. Yeah. So, but after it hardens and it goes through that process, it's holes inside of the dirt that allows the roots to be able to grow. And then the lava was rich with nutrients from the inner core. And what that does is it makes it to where the fruit, it could bear, sweeter fruit, more vibrant fruit, more aesthetic fruit. And it's beautiful. And so I equate that to how, when you ask me my why, you don't mature until you were a seed. We were all seeds. You need water. You need light. You need protection. You need all of that. And I think that we're all seeds. And when that happens, when you say your why, my why comes as I mature and I start dropping seeds. My why is making sure that those seeds and everything that I project has the proper amount of nutrients to the best of my abilities, whether it be my sons or whether chopping it up with you. I'll be like, hey man, get it, because it's that season. Yeah. And then flat stuff, seeds need, they need to grow. I hit you up earlier today, chopping it up with you, even though it might have been in a funny style kind of way, but I'm concerned about the most important thing. What's important and what ain't. You remember?
Yeah.
Off the rip. I mean, it may have been jokingly, but I was just off the rip. Like, hey, man, blah, blah, blah. You was like, man, blah, blah, blah. But if you were to, at the end of the day, who's the dude at the gate up in heaven or whatnot that they say, what's the dude? Paul, Peter,
God.
Peter, no, at the gate before you go in the gate. Ain't it Peter?
I don't.
Yeah.
I just
so
know
you,
about Jesus.
But you go to the gate, the pearly gates, man. So you get up there, and what if they say, man, you ain't even asked, dude, man? You know what I'm saying? If I mean, you know what I'm talking about, and the listeners, they may can infer, but think about it. If you didn't, if you had a relative that may have been, they was on a bumpy road or it was raining or something, and they hollered at you. You want to ask the most important things first, man. I don't infer, because we all wearing masks. So that's why I want to drop, the seeds to say, look, we don't got to worry about what other folks thinking. That's my why.
Yeah. Wow.
Complicated. Yeah.
Mic
drop. Bass drop.
And part of that, I noticed that you work with some boys in a program after school.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
That tell us about that and what made you want to do that. Because you could have just been a teacher, gone home, hang out with your family, but you chose to be in these boys' lives and be there for them. Tell us about that. Why you did that.
I am with a mentorship group at the schoolhouse that I work at. Yeah, I tell you the truth, I reluctantly did it. I was finishing up my doctorate. I was like, yeah, I don't know. I really don't want no more on my plate. And have you ever I'm trying to think of you like M&Ms? Mm-hmm. You like M&Ms or peanut butter M&Ms or what's your
Reese's Pieces and
yeah, Reese's Pieces. All right. So what happens when somebody you just got through you working out, you doing your thing, you hungry, so you know you can eat, and somebody off come with a bag of Reese's Pieces. Dre, they come to you, they got this bag of Reese's Pieces, and you start salivating, and then they give you one Reese's Pieces. What's your first thought in your mind?
I want more.
Exactly. That's what got me at the schoolhouse, man. So once I started dealing with the students, I was like, I don't want to do this. I mean, I don't want to do it. It's like 4:00. I feel like, that same feeling about coaching baseball. I've retired from coaching baseball for about 10 seasons, but I've been coaching baseball every season.
Yeah.
Because once I get there, I can't, like, it's it's invigorating, and I like it, in dealing with students that have a great need. Like, if you got the water and they thirsty, I mean, what type of I don't think it's a moral conflict. It's a right or wrong. If I got the water and they thirsty, and I can make it to where they have water, and then they can make it to where the next person have water, then it no longer becomes a point of, am I, do I want to do this or do I not want to do this? But it's psychological survival. That's how I kind of look at it, for the students that, the population that I mentor. So, whether it be, introducing them to, to concepts related to agency and advocacy and navigating this academic, environment.
Sphere, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes. I mean, and even defense mechanisms. Like, I mean, you and I both know how to code switch. I would.
Yeah.
I'm making that assumption. So you can code switch, but sometimes, I think a lot of times for marginalized populations, people look at them like they are more mature than what they really are. They're not as sophisticated as an adult. And, when you're teaching children and when you're teaching kids or middle schoolers or sometimes even high schoolers, they're not sophisticated enough to say, I feel like I'm being done wrong right now. I need a little time to process this. Can you give me 5 minutes? They may not be able to do that.
Gotcha.
In that as eloquent.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm being an example, because one thing that we both have had are examples and multiple examples of quote unquote success. Multiple of examples in multiple ways.
Yeah.
Because think about it, like the way that my wife and I and my family, you can say we success, but success is relative. But you can look, but it's multiple examples. You can look, it's several. But what happens when somebody doesn't have not only multiple but no examples, and they thirsty for regular old nutrients like agua? They want a little bit of agua. So that's what it is, man. I just want to I want to. So it's a quote. I don't want to misquote it, so I won't say the name. So it's do the most you can to the most people you can, as many ways that you can, and I as long as you can, and that's kind of like I'm misquoting Mr. Wesley, but I think that's a cool mantra to have. Like, just do as much as you can for as many people as you can for as long as you can. That's how I try to live.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah,
good,
man.
Good. All right. So I'm gonna ask you. I wanted to ask you about. We talked about purpose. We talked about the why. We talked about what you do beyond just teaching, and I wanted to also ask you, just like, what does your house stand on? Because that's part of like the why and everything that you do as teacher, but I want to ask you about your why. As far as like, what is one thing that's your why that your house stands on, that your life stands on? You know, beyond integrity, love, and respect, and basics. What is one thing that your house stands on?
Well, I think, for me, it's a couple things.
What's your biggest one? Your
Well,
number
well,
one.
well. The first, I'm gonna say three, and I'm gonna start at the ground level, because you can't have a house, you can't have a roof without a foundation, and the foundation of that house that for me is a legacy. And hopefully throughout this interview, I've expressed a appreciation, a great deal of gratitude for my family, my brothers and sisters, from Africa. Since I am a descendant of a slave, but I do recognize it's a legacy there. It's a legacy. I can't shake that.
Yeah.
I can't shake that. I look like somebody. I sound like somebody. My the things I'm competent in, and the things that I have a gift in, if I knew, it wouldn't be a surprise. I mean, that's kind of cliche, but like, it's legacy. So, as far back as I could go, like earlier in the interview, you heard me talk about, like, I am my ancestors' wildest dream, but my ancestors, that's the thing, that's the legacy. Yeah. So my house, my being, my
foundation
is legacy.
Yeah.
And I believe so we go to the foundation. After we hit that foundation, and that's of the earth, in the earth, because roots are deeper than trees are tall. The roots go further down than further than the earth, than the tree goes up. So that's the legacy. And then I think the bricks, the windows, the plaster, or fixtures, the drywall, the couch, the whatever, all that good stuff, in my opinion, for me and for my person, is a perspective. Because earlier in the interview, you heard me making references and nuance in the fact that I do have perspective. When my daddy went from Little Rock to Kansas City, didn't nobody have a job? Nobody. He put it all on the line. So from one type of lifestyle, to free lunch, to back to free lunch, to good times, bad break, whatever you want to call it, but perspective. So I can't nobody shake that type of perspective when they meet me. When they meet me, they see, hopefully they will see perspective. So I could get down with the get down, or we could talk about statistical analysis, in academia. So perspective is the thing that I'm grounded in legacy. I offer perspective, and the perspective. I can't say love, but love is in that as well, because King, in the letter from the Birmingham jail, talked about how the I and thou relationship. I don't know if are you familiar with the I and thou. So the I and thou relationship, when he was writing to the detractors and quote unquote his buddies that was dissing him, like, hey man, this is too much too fast. He made reference and talked a lot about how you don't see me and you. You have I and it relationships, like me and this cup, this can. I see you drinking a 40, but hey. You know, but you have an I and it relationship, things that don't really matter. But an I and thou, you know, when you remember the last time you dropped your phone, you said, "Ooh," you cringed. You know, you cringe. You feel it. You can feel it because that's part of you.
It hurts.
It hurts. That's part of you. But how do you have that type of humanity or see that type of humanity when you look at TV and seeing people bombing this group, or when you look and see, you know, somebody that's down on their luck, or you look and see, you know, situations where people are in undesirable positions. Like, can you see you in them? And I think that's, you know, I try to hold that. That's part of that's part of the main part of the house. Can I see the I and thou? And it's a pursuit to see the I and thou. I be messing up a lot. You know, I don't, you know, sometimes I go overboard. Sometimes I talk more than I listen. Sometimes I'm inconsiderate when I should be, but if I don't know, but it's a pursuit. It's a pursuit of me being able to empathize, a pursuit to me to be able to sympathize, a pursuit for me to be able to see me in them, like a not understanding, like can lead to a understanding. And that's the I and thou, where you know a lot of times people think the infinity symbol is a 8. You know, the view, the listeners can't they can imagine.
They can imagine. Use their imagination.
Well, imagine. Get you a shot of Grand Marnier and think about this. So most of them, because I'm illustrating now, I wish we had video or Revolt TV or something. Like you have, most people think the infinity is an 8, like on its side, but in actuality, it's 2 interlocking circles, and that's the perfect. I think that's the quintessential example of an I and thou relationship. So to see the I and thou, so I try to relate that when I'm dealing with my wife, my kids, and all that good, and people around me, like the I and thou. Like I try to relate, you know. So versus being like, man, get like me, you know. I try to, because I know what it feel like. I know it. I have the perspective. And, you know, so then we start moving up in the house. So we got the legacy, the perspective, and then we get to, it's my third one, and it's a little higher. You know, I would like for, you know, to always have a pursuit to be mindful. And, you know, I think mindfulness is something I'm intentional about. To be mindful, and all of them are interrelated, but you want to be mindful. And you know, I deal with students. I deal with, you know, I've been married as of this interview. I've been married 17 and a half years. As of this interview, I've been teaching 17 years. As of this interview, you know, I got a lot of good people that's in my life, and I'm feeling better than ever. But to be mindful of what I do. Like, and you know, some people may have that near the bottom, which is their prerogative. But for me, at the top of the crib, mindful. Can't nobody control how you react but you. Off the rip, can't nobody control how you react but you. Yeah. Something happens, you say, but they what? You know, that's ludicrous. So, you know, can't nobody control you being mad but you. Yeah. Nobody can control that. And can't nobody control your happiness but you. Yeah. You know, so I think that you know, as I mature, I control how I think about certain situations. Now that's the highest level in my opinion. You know, like you look at the monks, and you look at people who, you know, the people in the monasteries. My son, for his confirmation class, they went to a mosque, they went to a synagogue, they saw a bat mitzvah, and then they went to a monastery. And these are things to offer them some different perspective. I remember growing up, I met somebody from Tibet. I don't want to disrespect no Tibetans or anything, but like I think it was a monk, I believe, and you know, they were talking about just being mindful, like being able to control their bodies with their minds, and I always thought that was dope. I saw that when I was in like 7th grade. I always thought like, wow, that's the ultimate level of control. But we have that. We just don't even be knowing it sometimes. Like, if you ever got into a fight before, or if you ever been in a funky situation, or people been shooting at you, or you got fired, well, I've been part of all that. But
He's been through hell and back.
Yeah, I've been through all that. But you know that feeling in your stomach though. You know where it get warm.
That gut feeling.
Yeah, it literally is a gut feeling. What if you can make that happen, spontaneously? And what if we can make that happen based off, that. Now granted, I know it's a it's some preservation, like animalistic, animal brain, frontal lobe type stuff going on, because fight or flight type stuff. But
subconscious.
What if you can control that? If you could control that, man,
unstoppable.
Man, I'd be like Limitless.
Limitless. I was just thinking about that movie.
I am
taking that pill.
Wait a minute, let me take me a pill now. Hey, listeners, this is the why. I just broke it down. I'm like Limitless and Lucy. And Lucy. Oh, you remember that?
Yeah, I remember that.
She was like turned into like some kind of.
Oh man, she was going crazy, but she had all these powers and was able to do all these things.
That's me. I'm the black man, Lucy. I'm the bald head,
the Bluesy.
Hey, look, for the listeners, hopefully you in the parking lot now. You check this out. However long this is, I know we've been going pretty long, but like. You rode on the freeway wherever you at. You're on 85, 20, 95, whatever road you on, 30, 10, whatever freeway you on or whatever route you take into your job. Hopefully, we drop some nuggets and you trying to think about your why.
Yeah, and I got one more question for you.
Break it
down.
All
right, so this segment is the question of the day, random question of the day. Today's random question of the day is, if you had the chance to sit down and have lunch with anybody, dead or alive, that you can think of, any celebrity or any person that ever lived, who would it be and why?
Wow. Wow, that I can't say more than one. It got to be one.
Only one. That's the challenging part of it.
Ooh. I mean, one part of me want to say, man, it's several. Oh,
like
man.
The person that you really want to meet.
That I really want to meet really chop it up with.
Yeah.
Man.
Would it make it easier if I said if they were alive?
No. It wouldn't, because on my mind during this interview, I mean, I'm gonna say this, then I'm gonna start blurting out other names, but the person that to answer this question would have to be, I would have to say James Cone.
Why is that?
Reverend James Cone, man. Reverend Dr. James Cone, man. I mean, I'm just thinking. I'm thinking about, because I listen to a podcast and, just of late at the time of this interview, he was making a connection between the cross and the lynching tree.
Interesting. What do you say about that?
Man.
Or should I just check out the podcast?
You need to Reverend James Cone, man.
What's his podcast name?
It ain't no podcast. He's not with us on this side of the earth no more.
Oh,
but it's
okay.
a video. It's go to YouTube, Google it.
Okay.
Google it. He's from Arkansas, from Little Rock. He went to Philander Smith College.
Okay.
With James Cone. Cone. So yeah, man, that's it, man. So
cool.
And that's that, man.
Well,
man,
thank you so much.
This been crazy, man. It's been kind of fun. Did you have fun? I mean, hopefully this has been
this is
different
good. Just listening to your stories and some of these things I didn't even know about you.
You didn't even know. You like, man, oh man. But it is what it is, man. So
but thank you for joining us on today's podcast.
No doubt, man. Hey, I appreciate it, man. Much love. All right.
All right. Thank you all for listening to today's podcast episode. Again, be sure to subscribe to the podcast and follow us on Instagram. And please be sure to give us any feedback from today's episode. And thank you again for listening. Have a great day.
Throw your L to the sky. Let them know that we just trying to get by. But you don't hear me though. Throw your L to the sky. Let them know that we just trying to get by. Check it. I'm from the natural state. Little rock is all I got. Let them know that we just trying to get by.